The Dallas Cowboys' search for a new defensive coordinator is taking place in one of the most complex and unstable scenarios in recent NFL history. What at first glance may seem like slowness or indecision is, in practice, a direct reflection of a market completely congested by coaching changes, open positions, and pending decisions in several franchises. The league is experiencing a rare moment where few teams have simultaneously retained a head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator, creating a domino effect that affects all ongoing negotiations. Before moving on, a direct and important request. If you want to continue following every detail of this search, subscribe, leave a like, and participate in the comments, because this movement will still yield many developments, and the fans' opinion is part of this analysis. Debate is an essential part of this process, as is the patience it requires. Currently, several franchises still have open positions for head coaches, while others have already defined their head coaches but haven't resolved the situation for their defensive coordinators. Some teams have opted to keep internal names, others have brought in well-known professionals, and there are those that haven't even officially started their searches yet. This creates a scenario where the defensive coordinator market is inflated, competitive, and far from any quick resolution. There are multiple open positions for defensive coordinator, and yet only one hiring has been finalized so far. Most teams are still in the early stages, focused on virtual interviews, profile assessments, and internal analyses. In some cases, the searches have barely begun, showing that the slow pace is not unique to the Cowboys but a general characteristic of this NFL cycle. Another determining factor is the impact of the head coach positions that have not yet been filled. Each head coach hire can automatically open up a new defensive coordinator position, further increasing competition. Currently employed coordinators are aware of this and are paying close attention to the full picture, waiting for larger moves before making final decisions. It is within this context that the Dallas Cowboys are conducting a process different from what their fans are used to seeing. Historically, the franchise tends to act more directly, with quick and predefined choices. This time, however, the club opted for a broad process, with multiple interviews, well-defined stages, and without the pressure of announcing a name before the market organizes itself. Currently, only a portion of the teams needing a defensive coordinator have formally begun their search. Many are still waiting for the outcome of crucial games, playoff eliminations, or contract settlements. This means the market hasn't yet reached its peak activity, and hasty decisions now could limit more qualified options in the near future. Among the candidates evaluated, there are names that have already attracted the interest of several franchises, which reinforces the need for patience. Some of these professionals have received multiple interview requests, both virtual and in person, while others await potential openings more aligned with their career goals. None of these decisions happen in a vacuum. It's important to understand that interviews don't automatically guarantee hiring. Unlike a draft or a simple negotiation, choosing a defensive coordinator involves alignment of vision, job security, the structure offered, and even the prospect of future growth. The interest needs to be mutual, and often the candidate also evaluates whether it's worth waiting for a different scenario. The Cowboys, for their part, have already moved beyond the initial phase that many teams are still experiencing. While other teams remain restricted to virtual interviews or preliminary inquiries, Dallas has already held in-person meetings and deepened conversations with its main targets. This puts the franchise in a more comfortable position, even without an immediate decision. The fans' anxiety is understandable, especially since this type of process is unusual in the team's recent history. The feeling of not having a defined name generates insecurity, but the current context of the league demands precisely the opposite of impulsiveness. The volume of available spots, the possibility of new openings, and the impact of external decisions make patience a strategic tool. Furthermore, there are specific NFL rules that directly influence the timing of interviews, especially involving professionals who are still under contract with competing teams. Depending on the results of crucial games, some candidates may become fully available, while others are only accessible to teams that have already advanced through earlier stages of the process. This dynamic reinforces that there is no need to rush decisions for fear of losing a candidate. In many cases, the professionals themselves make it clear whether they intend to wait for other opportunities or are willing to move forward immediately. This constant dialogue is part of a search conducted in a professional and structured manner. In the overall picture, what we see is a market that is still far from stabilizing. Major moves are yet to happen, vacancies may appear, and others may disappear quickly. In this volatile scenario, the Dallas Cowboys choose to observe, evaluate, and act methodically, something that deviates from the emotional pattern but aligns with the current state of the league. As the market continues to move, it's clear that the Dallas Cowboys process is not isolated, but part of a much larger NFL offseason context. The league is experiencing a period in which more than half of the franchises are directly or indirectly evaluating changes to their coaching staffs, especially in the defensive coordinator position. This explains why so many decisions have yet to be made and why the overall pace remains cautious. Among the candidates monitored by the Cowboys, some stand out as priority targets precisely because they are attracting interest from multiple teams. This factor, far from being a problem, reinforces the importance of not acting impulsively. When a name attracts the attention of several franchises, the scenario tends to be prolonged, as the candidate himself begins to evaluate which environment offers greater stability, autonomy, and prospects for professional growth within the NFL. There is also the direct impact of league rules on interviews and negotiations. Coaches who are still under contract with active teams have clear contact restrictions, which creates specific windows for in-person and virtual conversations. Depending on the results of decisive games, some professionals become fully available, while others remain accessible only to teams that have already advanced through certain stages of the process. This technical detail influences the schedule of everyone involved. In this context, the Dallas Cowboys find themselves in a relatively comfortable position. The franchise has already conducted important interviews, advanced beyond the preliminary phase, and built relationships with key candidates. While other teams are still discussing profiles or awaiting formal clearances, Dallas already possesses enough information to make informed decisions when the market allows. Another essential point is the misconception that offering a job first guarantees hiring. The reality of professional American football shows the opposite. Defensive coordinators carefully evaluate each offer, considering not only salary, but also job security, existing defensive structure, influence over the roster, and even the future possibility of competing for head coaching positions. The decision is always a two-way one. Within this scenario, patience becomes not only a virtue, but a clear strategy. Haste could mean losing access to options that are not yet officially available, or compromising the quality of the final choice. What seems to wait in practice is market analysis and respect for the process. For the fans, this moment demands an adjustment of expectations. The Dallas Cowboys have rarely conducted such an extensive and detailed search for a defensive coordinator. The previous, more predictable and rapid approach gave a sense of immediate control. Now control comes from information, analysis, and the ability to wait for the right moment to act. It's important to emphasize that the market hasn't yet reached its decisive point. Head coach positions can be filled at any time, opening new opportunities or closing paths that currently seem viable. This ripple effect is inevitable and directly impacts the competition for experienced and promising defensive coordinators. Some big names, which initially seemed like real options, gradually fade from view due to external circumstances, parallel negotiations, or internal movements within their current franchises. Others, less talked about, gain strength as the process progresses and interviews become more in-depth. This balance between established names and emerging profiles is part of the complexity of the moment. The central point remains the same. There is no indication of improvisation. The Dallas Cowboys are conducting a structured search, unprecedented in their recent history, but aligned with what other NFL franchises do when they want to make a strategic signing. The goal is not just to fill a vacancy, but to find the right professional to lead the defense in an increasingly competitive environment. At the end of this process, the choice will reflect not only the talent of the announced name, but also market analysis, timing, and a willingness to go beyond the obvious. Until then, close monitoring, debate among fans, and understanding the overall context help transform anxiety into analysis. The NFL offseason still has many chapters in store, and the selection of the Dallas Cowboys' next defensive coordinator will be just one of them, but one of the most important for the team's immediate future. If you follow this movement closely, you know that solid decisions are rarely the quickest ones. And at this moment, everything indicates that Dallas prefers to get it right, even if it requires waiting a little longer.